very happy that you agreed to sit and visit. I am aware of all of the hard work that you do in Juneau around Tling'it language, and I think our visit here at the Alaska Native Language Revitalization Institute is so valuable in bringing so many people together that do this important work. So Kingaste, David Katsik, I had the great privilege of knowing your mother, Anna Katsik, for many years, and I feel her presence here today. And then Paul Jr., Paul Marks, likewise, Emma Marks was such a powerfully sweet and kind and gentle spirit, and her artwork, her beadwork, lives on, and like was said yesterday, is very much alive, as if it was created yesterday. I know you both, all three of you, have worked very long and hard in Juneau through Native corporations and with school districts. I'm wondering how your mothers and your grandmother would speak of you today. How would she describe you?
We aduk sawa khatakwa
ik hou de woord stomme.
shukwa wasak tunditanik sitikha ya shukokau yukatangi datka chatlakawa datu khwatanuchka hasa ha itwul tuucha achkawa ktwasigu kindi
Most noble people, I am really, really grateful to be here this morning with respect to our language. I've spent a lot of time meditating, thinking about our language, and the most important thing that I have come to realize is that when I am speaking the language of our ancestors, the ancient ones, that it's as if their voices are returning and being heard and being expressed through the words that I speak, because it's their words that I'm speaking. And that's what is important about what's happening here today.
Chatlakawe has to yukatangi khwatunuchka Tsuwe tapes today kwa achnuchka ya shukokau yukatangi kha tlatin ksetiha yadashawe has to yukatangi kha.
The words that the ancient ones spoke a long time ago were words that were weighty, that were heavy, and I studied it in books that have been written with respect to our language that's written in it. But also I have listened to the recordings that others have done of other people. And what I hear in their words that they speak are words that are really, really heavy words regarding who we are as a people.
Yeah, where has the dot shajaj nuchka? Totally say ya yi Tling'it yukatangi kha. Aka chatlakawa I Tling'it yenach yukatanka aka yigakidlakha yewachin kaninik nuchka tla.
The thing that my mother used to tell me and teach us as children was that if we used the language and we spoke the language, there would be no way for us to get out of being able to learn the language in the very unique way our people had in teaching the language. And this is what I sense within me as I speak today, and the words and the recognition that you gave to his mother and those that spoke and very, very highly of him.
One can say two Juanukha has to Wasakosa has to Hast du spirity ka?
Pastu yakaheko.
Hast du yakahega tu kwanuk nuska? Ya Tling'it yukatangi wutusle ye ka?
It's very powerful, Grandfather, the way that you're speaking. Sometimes suddenly I can feel the power and the presence of their spirit as if they're sitting with me and being with me and encouraging me, giving me words of comfort and encouragement.
Tlakwasiku gutaksawe ya shukokao yukatangi just achtlutak wukik nutka ha yukatangi atkawa ye da tukhatan ha shukokao ha.
Gee, sometimes when I'm speaking and saying words that I'm saying, I may not even know where they're coming, and what I came to realize is that it's as if my ancestors have come and their words are actually coming out of my mouth because they want to be heard.
Maslaweto ye da tukhatan ha aktla kwat akukik akautini kuya ha yukatangi katko khwasatin ha tokane wadkunen sawe it was tune ha tla has ha.
He said when we were little babies, our mothers could speak into our ears and really say the words that are so powerful for us, not waiting until we get into school, but starting at the time when we're little children to speak those words that would give us courage, that would give us encouragement, that would recognize us and acknowledge us, and his words of being able to describe how a mother would bring that little baby up and talk into its ear, and that little baby would feel the breath of its mother going into its ear, and it would not only tickle its ear, it would tickle its imagination. This is great words that you're speaking, Grandfather.
Yewe has musikuha has tutindatani tudek asawutika ya shukokao yukatangiha.
This is also part of the belief system that we have as a people, that those young people that are born into this earth have the spirit of the ancestors, and they're acknowledging, they're recognizing, they're accepting, they're being able to be comforted and lifted up with the words that those little children have within them already. This is part of the reason this morning, as I listened to another tribe, another people talking about their language, the Hawaiians, I felt encouraged as I listened to them share with us their efforts.
Chataki Woods, ya itlilko has wasa yukatangi ksitiha.
Always asking those, what he's referring to is how the Hawaiians reference to speak to those who already know the language, who have lived the language, who understand it totally, to go to them and ask them about their language so that they don't miss the mark. Yeah, Gweki.
Akawe ikekotlaka ya tletka ye saka world view ha.
And this is how the white person can get the world view of who they are, who we are. And that I think is very important.
Just way achtwasiku yisiku wasa tundatania datkasiti yisikwasikuha waitchu ayin kanik nuchka achkawe achtude yitiha ya ha shukokao yukatangiha.
She said, this is what I want you to know, what is on my mind and what is in my heart, what is beating within me as a human being, those things that relate to our words and who we are as a people. And I know and I understand you, grandson, is referring to me, that you also have words that you would like to share. And so thank you very much, Grandfather Kunachish Adiyukayatan Kia
Cheese.
Yatutan. Ho ho.
Eat ko ha ha.
He said, it's your turn, grandson. We're each other's grandfather. He's my grandfather, I'm his grandfather. Tlukach ati aya achlik. Tlukach ati. Kunachishi sechwa ach ichlik. Jo ya achlik du sechwa ach yaan ka nachyanas ach achlik kuncha ko akan. Zakwat basa du asap bit itlak.
Kechne.
Kechne du se tu ach.
Kusta ish. Kusta ish.
Kusta ish du se. Kunachishi. I want to acknowledge and recognize my grandfather's people who is sitting here next to me, the Tlukachadi people. This is the purpose of the language. It isn't just so that I can speak and sound like I know what I'm talking about, but it's because I develop an intimate relationship with words. With words, we develop our community. And what I'm doing here is acknowledging my dear grandfather, and what I said was that it's as if I could hear my grandfather's voice going over this land. And when we hear the voices of those who we love, it doesn't make any difference what language you speak, what color your skin is. When we hear the voices of those who've gone before us, it comforts us, it gives us encouragement, it gives us a purpose, a joy, a happiness that no other type of communication can give. Words that are strong and powerful. And that's why I said those words are flowing over the earth. And that's actually what's happening today. Maybe look at a big conference coming in here and we see all kinds of people talking and doing this and doing that, and that's good. But the most important thing for me as a traditionist is to see the healing of the land that is happening. The healing that is coming upon us as a people. Because we have come through a lot. We have come through thousands of years of difficulty and trials and problems. And these problems that we're facing today, grandfather, are bigger than the problems of the flood, of the famine, of the time of sickness came upon us and the storms that came upon us as a people. The storm of today is even greater than that. But it's our language that will bring our community back together. A language of encouragement, a language of recognition, a language of being able to say, way to go, you're doing good, I'm proud of you, you're wonderful. Iake, you're good. And there's what's the joy about language. That's the purpose of language. Anybody can speak a language. It takes a lot of courage to begin to live the language. One can say, love your neighbor as yourself. But you know what? It is hard in this day and age for people to love their neighbors. But in our Tling'it way, we love even the trees. We love the fish. We love even the little birds. We have songs about the earth. Why am I using that as an example? If we can talk to trees, when do we start talking to our grandchildren? If we can talk to the bear, when do we begin to talk to our children, to one another? If we can say, when we're going through where the salmon are spawning, we'd say, "Ch'ata yeha na'u, ya'ani ka nakawayan tukoch, ya'ani ka den yan tukoch." If our people said those words, please be patient with us. Forgive us for coming and disturbing your home to the Salmon people. That same spirit has to be applied to us in our language, to our children, to each other, to help one another, not to criticize each other, not to put each other down, not to laugh at one another, but to hold each other up with love and kindness. That is the purpose of language. That is the primary purpose of language. Without our language, we're going to have a difficult time in loving. What happened to us as a people? We went all over. We separated us when our language was removed. So that's the reason why I say there's a healing that's going on in this land. There's a healing that is happening. And the words that you said, that's so beautiful. It's as if the voices of our ancestors came up out of the earth, and they're looking around and they're seeing who can accept us. And we're saying, goodness sheesh. We're saying, welcome, welcome. And anybody, I don't care what color skin you have, I don't care what language you speak, when you are accepted, when you are acknowledged, when you are told you are special and you're appreciated, I don't care what language you speak, a person will feel that love. And that's not a cheap love. It is a love that comes from the heart, that will honor you, my sister, as my sister, and love you in a way that is not bad, but good. My younger brother there, the love I have, people have a hard time to say, I love you, in the language of other languages. It could mean all kinds of ugly things. But with respect to us, when we say ichsichan, we're saying we care about you unconditionally. You already are who you are. You don't have to do anything to earn my love. That is so powerful. That's in our language. Which tusichan, we love one another. And that's a healing thing that I think that we should do. And that, you asked my grandfather about his mother and what she would think. I think that if I could interpret for you what your mother would feel, I think his mother would be really, really, how would I put it, humbled and encouraged, because the seed that she planted, that maybe she would not even maybe see, it's sprung forth. And the same thing, the acknowledgement that you gave my mom, the seed my mother planted is blooming. And the same thing with you, Ronaldo. The same thing, the seed. That is the power of language. And so that's basically all I'm going to say, Grandfather, right now. But I am so grateful to this Language Revitalization Institute that is taking place here, to see all the people. There are a lot of different type of things that we need to look at, because we can just learn to speak a language but never know really in a way the value of it. And I think the value has to be added, has to be really added, because that's what makes the language a viable type of language. Otherwise, if it's just a language, it will be a dead language. And I don't mean to say that our languages are going to be dead, but we need to add the life to it.
Cheguat adat Ochtwasigo, Yisiku, Wasa Trinitani, or take Wasa Hashukokau has to Yugotangi Datka. Ye, where has say our Kaha? Kaneka Tutsatiha, ha Yugotangiha. What has to in Kanenikwa?
Okay, I was doing Kakuni. He said, I want to say to all of you out there, when I heard the ancient people speak a long time ago in the recordings and what's written, they would say that there is salvation, there's saving, there's healing in the language of our people. And I say this, when I say salvation, I'm not talking of religion. I'm talking about the way in which words can heal another person, another human being, a community. You see, when we just think about our words just being right in here, excuse me, those words go over our land. And it heals our land as well, not just human beings. So,
Yeah, well, has Yaha Tlatkiha, Tadasa, Katsatiha, Hain Kanenik Nutsaka, Wasaha, Kosteke Kutiha.
that's good. Good. He said even our land would speak to us and talk to us and how things are going to be. Yeah, quickly. Our land spoke to us and taught us about itself. And that is so powerful. That is it's not a new way. It's a way of our natural way of learning about the earth and its resources. And those things that we call at'uwu. At'uwu means, we look at this as at'uwu. And this basically is actually
history.
The plastic art of our people, and when I'm using the word plastic, which I know some people may get a little upset about. But the point I'm making is our at'uwu, our artifacts, have our language, have our ways, have our values, have our history, have our geology, have all the kind of things any educational world would like to know about. It's our icons of the history of our people and our families. I'd like to ask. Good. Why don't you ask him a question about?
You each, I know, enter into classrooms and with working with students in different ages, as well as your work in community, to take the phrase of a mother whispering in a child's ear. I would say that you each do that whenever you speak in the presence of children, that they're hearing in a different way. Mm-hmm. And that notion that your footprints are in those educational institutions as well as community, that brings a life. And I'm wondering if you would speak to what it feels like when you are working with our youth.
I too would like to be able to say how much I appreciate how the young people are learning the language and how what I'm experiencing in the process of teaching this language, our language, to the children in the school. Just my grandparent did not know very much English language. The only language that my grandparent used was using the Tling'it language, the language of our people.
Yeah, عشان كده وتنت.
Our grandparents would speak into our ears like the way you would hold a little baby. And let me show you what they would do. If I wish I had a little doll here or something. They would go like this. You understand English. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to let him finish what he's saying. Can see.
Ewa akhi khitiu su hayatki to in khositiu ade ha kudusti and ya ewa has to shakadus jates you khatangi to ha kusti ewa to in khositiu hayatki you schoon wanik.
This is the way that the way my grandparents taught me is the way I am teaching the kids within the school system. He used a very, very, very heavy word that basically really means to embed the language within their spirit, within their heart, within their mind, not just their mind, but within their soul, within their being. I love that word, and it's very interesting that this young man would use a word that really so graphically shows the power of our language. Goodness sheesh, because that is a very heavy, heavy word. Oh man, goodness sheesh.
Could you repeat it again? I'm sorry. Can you tell us that word one more time?
Ish kadus jates yoksha. Ish kadus jates yoksha.
Yeah, and our fathers too. Or did you say ha'i?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, not ha. That was also the way it was instilled within us as well, is what he's talking about. I'm sorry, Chadeh.
Yewa tu na teach ye hayat kriyadat. Tu ye ade hasyanush kuguya. Yewa.
This is what I actually really, really enjoy and feel. As I'm sharing my ancestors, my grandparents, even my father, and who I am, in the hearts and the minds of the students. I feel fulfillment within me as I'm sharing this.
Think where. As a twasigu has was a kucha, achitaya.
I want you to know this is my son.
Shukwa he neslawe awa acha ya haslit koas yukatangiha.
He heard the language in our home. He heard the language of his grandfather's people and his father's people.
Gatsko satia chatlakawe ku a cardenatin it's got to go do so the jiwutin ha gatsko satin ha.
When he was a child, he wanted to go to school. No.
Chatlak kashi no chka we are Tling'it you kashi ha.
No, he would sing the songs of our people as he was going to school. From the time he was a little child.
Achkawa Tling'it was siku. Yisiku ha chatlakawe atlatin no chka you way yejene ha celebrations at that ha.
And this is the reason why that he works with you and he works with others in helping getting prepared for the celebration that's going to be taking place here in 2018.
Chatlakawe our tlatin no chka way celebrations gatsko satin ha.
Oh, from the time he was a young child, he watched the celebration.
Atakawe was siku way kashi ha.
And this is where he learned the songs.
So yaha yukatangi ataksu Aushikuha.
And also from here, he learned the language as well.
In English, they say that for generations there's no one's been learned or taught the Tling'it language at home. He learned it at home. He's one of the youngest he's a first Tling'it language speaker. He learned how to English, and they tried to say that he wanted to put him in a speech class because he was native. And we said, no, he can speak English very clearly. He doesn't need to be in a speech class. And so I just want that to be noted that our people have still learned the Tling'it language at home, and it's still done today. He's going to teach his new child coming up. He teaches his niece Tling'it every time he sees her. And they're learning it at home. I think when we have those absolutes, and then it's like we're beginning from the beginning. No, it's ongoing. It's never been stopped. It's right here in front of us. And we're part of that group. And that they would learn that, because I feel when we talk about the sky is falling, we're losing, then we're scrambling. When we got Grandpa here, my son here, leading the charge, saying, well, we're not falling. Excuse me, he's 27 years old.
Oh,
by the time 25 years ago, he was listening and singing Tling'it songs, listening to the language.
At home.
At home. It wasn't in the school. He didn't learn it from the school. Yeah, he went to take classes in the school to learn the writing system. But sometimes I wonder where he learned the Tling'it from. He knows more than I do. I better watch out.
I'd like to ask a question of you, Ronaldo. I know that you've been around a fair length of time, and I know that you have seen programs that have been put together with your help and others that you did. From your experience of looking at the educational world and where we're at here right now, what do you see, and what are your hopes? What are your dreams? What beats within your spirit when you think about our language and who we are as a people?
We have a long history of being at odds with that educational system, and I would say that my work has been anchored in making room for our people, not to tolerate, but to embrace and value. And so the work that I did with your mother and your sister Nora around curriculum work and guidance, listening to them for guidance on doing the right thing was invaluable, and that's where I had the privilege of getting to know them deeply. My motivation for any of the programming is that there is a deep hunger in the eyes of our children. And I've witnessed it, and I've seen them blossom and grow when their soul is filled. And so the desire in me is that we demand room in that system structure for the for the sake of our children. I know the struggles are that we've lost so many precious souls over time that drove and influenced us, that what can we do today to bring people together on that joint cause of lighting that spirit in the eyes of our children? If we can keep focused on our children for what we're doing, and learn how to work collectively from our different perspectives to navigate those waters, then I think we've done a good job. If we can come to value and agree the future of those children. But I see how you've all ignited that desire, that hunger for learning. And that's what I hope we can nourish. There is common ground that we have. I think we have to remind, like what you spoke about love being the foundational piece. And with that, I hope that you continue to inspire individuals to want to learn the language, to understand the depth, a deeper depth. Obviously, unless you've had the privilege of learning as a primary language, there's always a hard work to change the English way of thinking into the Tling'it world. And that was my last question, actually, back to you all. What nurturing advice would you want to leave with those that are struggling to learn using what resources that are available to them today? What nurturing advice do you have for Tling'it language learners?
Katakwa.
You put a lot to- Is it my turn, he said? That's what he said. He wants to speak in English. Tlingit people are very intelligent. We can speak whatever language we want to learn.
I think to learn the values and the principles of our people. If we lose the values and if we lose the principles and the standards of our people, then we're just like we're not any different than anybody. Those values and principles and standards is what gives us a different world view of what's happening today. We see the world in a much different way than other people see it. And we see the damage of what's happening to our land, to our shukokao, niyaya. That's where our ancestral land and how they taught us. And I was saying earlier, the land dictates to us how we live our life, where we don't dictate to the land how we're going to live our life. And see what's happening now. We're taking dictation by taking things from the earth, and now look at what's happening to the earth. We're losing so many things. There's so many things happening in the earth because we've lost that respect for life. I was sharing with my grandpa earlier that what my clan leader talked about is when they were getting ready to dance, and one of the clan members, which was, we're all considered on Yatku, honorable person, had passed away. And then he went and sorrowed for a while, and the clan went to him, "What are we going to do?" And he says, "Well, we're going to dance. Sometimes when life becomes boring, a noble person dies." And what is he saying in that? When we lose appreciation for where we're at, when we lose appreciation for life in general around us, the life of the earth itself, what it gives to us, we lose that appreciation. Someone passes away that we love, and we weren't appreciated. And so then when we accept that, then we dance. We've learned that appreciation again. And that's the passion I think we need to understand, is that those stories can give us a reason why we want to speak Tling'it. It ain't just to speak the language and still have the Western thinking pattern. And I think if we just use that pattern of the English way of thinking, we're going to lose our language. Because we'll lose our principles, we'll lose our standards, we'll lose our worldview. We'll be just like anybody else, so what's the difference? We have a very high, sophisticated language and very high our brains are very powerful in the language that we speak, and when we learn that, how really powerful it is. And I enjoy my grandpa, and we walked together for several years now. And the more I learn about him,
1980, we've been together.
the more I hang around him, the more I listen to him, and
I learned that from your ancestors, your family. You belong to the Tequeti clan, and you're my sister, and we are eagles together with my brother, who's over here as an eagle as well. And the words that you asked are very, very good words. I concur with my grandfather. If we use and develop ways and means that come from another society, then our language will become the language of the other society. For example, in this situation, we're using English. And so if we develop our ways and our language like the English language, we will have Tling'it. If we're sitting in a classroom, I'd say to the kids, say Tling'it. And all the kids would say, Tling'it. But Tling'it means that we're using an English template to try to teach the language. This is the reason for the comment that my grandfather made, forgive me if I'm wrong, that it was at the home where he learned the language and he began to learn the music. But not only the music, the values, and really the depth of our language that really develops community. It brings strength as opposed to saying the different kind of things that people can say but never do it. It gives us the power to live our language, which is so important for us. Because when our grandparents and the ancient ones would say, Tling'it, you are a human being, and being human means you can hear, you can listen, you can pay attention, you can be still, you can be quiet, you can become focused. And then they would say, they would say, you are a being, and you are a being that is intelligent, that there's nothing you can't learn, not a thing you can't learn. And then you'd go into it, you're going to respect yourself. Which means you're going to learn about yourself. Because how can you respect yourself if you don't know about yourself? So you're going to learn about your lineage, who your father's people are, who your grandfather's people are, who your great-grandfather's people are, and who your great-great-grandfather's people are, and who your in-laws are, and who your other uncles, they call them Sani Haskach, who those other individuals are. You learn, and when you say who they are, we're not talking about just knowing their names. We're talking about knowing their history. We're talking about the challenges that they went through in order for them to be where they're at. The challenges my grandfather went through, the challenges that your grandparents went through, the challenges your grandparents went through, just so we can be sitting here. We're not here because we are Tling'it and this is what we know. We're here because other people have gone before us. They loved us, they cared for us, they sacrificed for us. They encouraged us. They lifted us up. They cheered for us. That's why we're sitting here. That's the purpose of our language. That is true respect and true honor. The thing that I saw yesterday when I was so happy, I saw my grandpa going up to one of his clansmen, putting his arms around him and letting him know how proud he was of him. I know how challenging sometimes we can be in families and things of that nature. And yet he took and showed to me the power of our language by not just talking about it, but doing it and living it. I was so happy. It was the very best experience that I had in a long time. I was looking, whoa, man, our language is worth restoring. Our language is worth bringing back, because it's going to, if it brings us to be able to go and be family, really family. Because what happened to us when our language was taken away, it separated family members in such a way that it doesn't take very much for somebody within your own family to be hollering at you, to be putting you down, to be laughing at you, to be criticizing you. That is not our way. For us to be able to come together with real love and kindness with each other. I'm not talking religion, folks. For those of you that are religious, fine. I applaud it. I'm not putting it down. I'm talking about a practical way of living and being able to use our language. To me, that's the purpose of our language. Because if I can get along with this earth right here, I'll get along with the earth down below. And if I can get in my head, I better take care of that earth, because that's where my ancestors are now, and I'm going to go there. How would I want them to be treating the earth that I'm on? And that makes us have a completely different view. One final word. People look at us as if we're dying. I want that word dying to get out of our language. You know why? Because that's a simulated vision of us. My grandpa, James Tling'it, is not dead. He's right here with me, sitting right next to me too. We get that thing looking at our language as being dead. That's what the thing that I saw on a language dying. I looked at, man, that's a prophecy. I don't want us to look at our language that way. I want it to be alive. I want it to have purpose. I want it to have hope. I want it to have strength and courage. I want it to have motivation. And it does. And I'm not criticizing that term that I saw. The reason I'm saying this, Grandpa, is because our people say, Tlatin iyukatanki. Tlatin iyukatanki. Look at what you're saying. Look at the words that you're using. If we're using those words become our God. We will fulfill what those words are. Take time to really think about words. And so that's just what I wanted to say for one of the things that I want us in our 30-year goal, to get rid of the word dying.
Okay.
Because it's alive and well.
Yeah, well, how would you say, how would you say, Jadasa, would you eat
This is the way that we spoke a long time ago. We have invited. You're invited. That's good. How do life has invited us.
Jadasa would you say, was I that ikayatan kadat nana tlek tlek
Don't speak about death. Don't invite it. Don't ask for it to come to you. Don't do that. And what he's saying is a very powerful story, not just the name and the story about the man who created the killer whale, my grandfather's people. Tells the story of not just the name. And it's the Tling'it, the sea lion people, are sending not just Linnaeus back to the community that he came from, back to the language that he had, back to the love that he had, back to the comfort that he had, back to the courage that he had, back to the acknowledgement and recognition that he had. The Tling'it were sending him there. And they made a really big submarine, is what Jimmy George called it, a submarine. He said, don't you ever let the people in the Army or in the Navy tell you that they built the first submarine. Tling'it people built the first submarine, is what he says in his story. And he said to not just the name, Yan shutan itan datani ade tuasi guyatlaka ani. Said, set your heart and your mind on where you're going to go. Keep your mind fixed on where you're going. That is when you will achieve this. I belong to the American Management Association. I graduated from business college, and I did a lot of management type of work in my young age. That is a phenomenal management type of story. Set your goal. Establish where you're headed. Fix it within your spirit. Then you will achieve your goal. Then they told him, don't look back. Don't think back about here. Because when you think back about here, you're going to come right back.
Oh, wow.
So they put him in the Tling'it submarine. He start going. Chayokda, suddenly, I love those words, chayokda. Suddenly, instantly, he thought back about where he was going. Wasa haskokati is all he had to say. I wonder how they're going to be. Bang, he was right back. And the Tling'it went to him and said, why did you think about coming back here? And he didn't say, you didn't even, he just thought about them where he was going. That is so powerful, the type of things that happen to human beings. If we go back to the kind of things that happen to us, we're not going to make the progress that we should make. We're not going to achieve the goal that we want to achieve. If we keep going back to the same thing that happened, we're just going back. We never make progress. So this is the purpose of language. This is the purpose of the story. And so he starts off again the second time. And whatever it was he saw, that killer whale in the Tling'it's house. They had a killer whale design inside their house that the killer whales gave to him that would be his. Not the killer whales, the Tling'it gave it to him. So he thought about that. Boom. He was right back where he left. That's the second time. The third time, I can't remember what it was, but he ended up there the third time. The fourth time, he made it ashore, and he went back, and that's how the killer whales came into being. We learned about all the different materials that could be used, to what kind of woods were very, very important to us, and what we learned about the scientific information about all the wood. We ended up coming down with yellow cedar, and that's what the killer whales were made of. And the way Grandpa George Jimmy George said, anytime if you find a killer whale that has died, take it and cut it, and then I want you to throw it on the fire, and when you hear the fire, and you take a yellow cedar, build a fire with a yellow cedar, you're not going to know the difference between the crackling sound of that whale and the yellow cedar. That's how you know yellow cedar was used to make that killer whale, is what he says. But the purpose of that story was to keep our mind fixed on where we're going, and that errors and mistakes will happen, but it's sticking with it. That's the other thing. We might try a number of different times to restore our language. We may have tried this way, that way, and so forth and so on. But in our story, Grandpa, may it be as if Jimmy George is saying, here, you're doing okay. Keep your mind fixed. You're going to achieve what you're going to achieve. That is the message that I want to give as an eagle to everybody from my grandfather, Jimmy George, saying, keep your heart and your mind fixed on the goal that you have before you. And what is our goal? That as my grandfather spoke, and the ancient ones spoke through him. See, what happens to us when I said that, this is what I said, that is an assimilated way of looking. It was his ancestors, he became the voice of his ancestors, speaking out, saying, we need to learn to speak our language and our ways at home. That, to me, is a 30-year goal. Because when we achieve that, the way about for being emotional. Please be patient with me for being emotional. I hope you guys could hear me. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to say, Takat Yuhan Gunachish, Gunachish Haketis Ahe. Jaadeye Nau, Hakya Tukae, Yitusachanich Awa, Atchawa, Yit, Kautuatan, Ya Achlik Tukach Adi, Kakat Sanguke, Dihatsiti, Tukach Adi, Datchana Yachat, Hukahotsu. Shanguke did a Shanksiti. Granashish, ye diakakas the cut you on. Ye do I one, you katangi away take to ye a tea. Ishitu noch yakanaden ikosti. Adu sach isati. Be of good courage, be of good courage. The language that you speak, whatever language it is within you. It's running through your veins. It's wanting to raise its head and be able to bring you the kind of values, the kind of things that will make life really worth being life. And it's going to produce greater benefits than we can even begin to imagine. Yeah,
my prayer for you is that each of you feel the kiss of your mother on your forehead. Thank you very much for your time.
I want to say thank you too to all of you out there. My grandson, Kingiste, me.
Grandfather.
Oh, grandfather.
So, that's
and also my grandson.
So, Yeet, Kagwantan, Gunachish, Ayin Yeticha, so, Dakanuku, Ronaldo, Gunachish.
He thanked me, he thanked his son, and he thanked Ronaldo, acknowledged their clans that they come from, and said, thank you for allowing me to be with you.
Just twice ago,
there's strength in who we are as a people, in our families,
The clan system is a fundamental family unit.
Achos te ewa tu ye te yahanach sa te.
That's why it's so important to know who you are and who your family members are.
At je way is a ku wo adusach is a te ye. Eta atsuti.
As being a raven, I talk to my eagles.
Ja, ye gaat sa te ye. Ja, achtak sa.
As doing what atnach.
Has du in je gachle at.
That is a very important thing in any traditional system is we never talk about ourselves. We talk to our relatives. That's who we are. They are who makes me. I didn't make myself. If I didn't have my Dakanuku, I wouldn't be here. If I didn't have my grandpa, I wouldn't be here. This is also my Kaniyan. His brothers are my brother-in-laws. But this is my son. He's also my dad because he carries my father's name. And I want us to know that clan system is important. If we lose that clan system, once we lose our family unit, that also makes us fragmented.
Yahanach sa te awa kuna keka at siti. Kat wutu tiki kuna klas keko klas Sushike Askosati, de welcome the Tani at the other way at talk, Naxati on. Gonna choose ye has yakti has to Naxati, or dark you take a bank you actually up.
Isiku Huakwa A.P. Johnson. Glass ball yakati ha koste.
Ja, glass kucheta yakaway at the Yahakos tea.
They call Henach in
He said that A.P. Johnson talked about how life was like a glass ball.
Colored.
Kuchet.
What's it was so Ushkaneyade colors.
Rainbow wasn't or something.
Kasek Ushkayanada Kasek Natishkawe.
All that ball can be a whole variety of different colors. This is the way our life is. Oh, if you break it, it will shatter all over. Wow, this is the way life really is. If you break it, it will be shattered.
You can't put it back together the way it was beautiful. Yes, we may put it back and find the pieces to fit it, but it won't be the same. That's why
And this is the reason why if we broke that most valuable part of us as being humans and being how we're related to one another, our people would encourage us to be very careful on how we handle our own lives. Thank you very, very much. And the one thing I wanted to say, you see the different type of things that happen. My little brother here corrected me, my grandfather corrected me, and I'm not embarrassed about being corrected. This is a part of us as people who are learning our language, who are learning our ways. We need to get over the ego that makes us feel like somebody's putting us down when they're correcting us. Sometimes correction, most often in the Tling'it way, correction comes because we love each other. It's not to condemn or to find fault or to laugh at, but because we sit and we look with pride. We beam with pride when we see our grandchild doing whatever they're doing, or our child doing whatever they're doing. Or like I watched my grandfather move his dance when the Athabascans were singing. When he was up there dancing the other night, he was moving like the ancient ones. He was dancing like the way we were taught when our people came all the way up here to Fairbanks to trade. Ach, te woo, siku. Good
Chief.
UTI.
Iwa tiket ki duin kakodatan. Iwa hayan wat kastuk ede kana isach. Akawe kati hutstu ke yakotlaka iwa yatki.
I want to speak also to the young people. What I want to share with you, to suggest to you, to encourage you, to listen to those who are older than you, who know the language, who know the history, who know our ways, and you will achieve those things.
Kiten kana isach. Ayo yahan wuyan wat.
Listen very, very carefully, really intently to the older ones that know the ways.
Ya is kau itadi kau tlatlan ke hasu wat you ha you khatangi in achaya chukutiede has to achtnut ha you khatangi achaya kiten khana isach.
Those of us, those younger people, didn't grow up with hearing the language being spoken. And so it's really important for us to listen to the ones who know the language so that you could hear it properly and express it properly.
Hasis ko hasa tunakha kudziti achaya kiten khana isach isis ko has.
Our grandparents came through this language. That is such a powerful phrase for a young man to be using, to come from the language. And so that is why it's so important to learn to listen, to learn to pay attention, to learn to become focused, because that's where our grandparents came from. Oh man, a lot.
Yewach tuiti ya yatki kastu da yitu khatan. Kiten khana isach akawe ke yakpitlak ya yukatangi hachagu yukatangi utusiku wan kanin saya atianach litsi tletka to tletka kastu kusti tunach ke how what wuhan chachan ka just Tling'it tandatani hatu ditanut idak hooch.
One of the things that we have is with respect to, first of all, he emphasized very, very heavily on how to listen. He wasn't just saying listen. He was describing the way you should meditate on, that you should mull over, like the way somebody would take a taste or to taste the word that you're speaking or hearing spoken. So you need to really, really pay attention. And then he acknowledged the fact that growing up through English sometimes can be a very big handicap, where it's that kind of can stand in the way. And so he came back to emphasize something, what he is doing as a young man. And this gives me joy and happiness, gives me hope for him to come back in repetitiveness, because in Tling'it, in modern day, they would want to set up a whole bunch of things like this, and then you've got to make sure you're going through it so that you can get it and then ask all kinds of questions. You know what he's doing? He is showing the exact way we learn our language. He is beating the drum on listen, 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 pay attention, listen, pay attention, listen to the ancient ones, to the older ones. And he's doing that, and to me that is a very powerful way to understand the word listen, the phrase that he used. But what we'll do is we'll just say the word and then we move right on to the next one. But what he's doing is a really good example of how to learn the language. Gonna cheese.
It was also Ishai de Woodley Click Canusa, Isis Kohasas to Canais you to una teach Akawe Hayatke Yakotlak.
And the point, he said, it's okay if you're in a rush, but if you really pay attention, you really pay a listen again to those who know the language, you're going to achieve the ability to speak the language.
Katsukan cheese here Hokai, Stikat Yuhan, Yade Haiki.
Also, I want to thank all of you for inviting us here.
Tuyek Ziag Hain Hayatan Isis Kohas has to Yukatangi Yanas Ach, you had Klatki. Katsu Yewak to Uyeti, Achishas Danawak, ye sunny, or ye hunch. Has to Dachawecho Ach so.
He said also thank you for us being here, and he acknowledged his father's people saying that their voices of his ancestors are going over the earth, land, and it is coming through all of us, really going, and the voices of our ancestors are over this earth, whether it's in English or in Tling'it. It's real. This is the way I feel. Thank you very much.
Just a little abbreviation of what we're thinking about.
Thank you very much, Ronaldo, for being with us. And I think I want to thank again all of you. I am humbled to be sitting with all of you today. I feel encouraged. I could hear the cheering that's going on. It's sikache. It's something that is emotional to know. Yakachtutlak. Yakachtutlak. Or let me put it this way. Yayan tutlak. I like that word better. Or here's the other one. Yau tuatlak.
Okay.
Goodness, jeez. I'll let you guys figure that out. Goodness. Yeah, but thank you.
Thank you. All right.
We thought we didn't know how much to say.
Thank you, Nando.
Make it now.
What you just did, you showed how the repetitiveness going this from here, from there, and there, saying it over and over again until you end up, I got to listen to the elders. That's powerful.
Oh, good cheese.